Ruff said that first there has to be a 10 and then the attack inside the 10 is the desire of the friend to serve his friends, to set the example. What is the 10 for him? What are the friends for him? And what goal he places being called spiritual work? It's called spiritual work for a reason. It is indeed work every day and few times during the day and all day long. We have to overcome all of these disruptions the ego is sending us so that we will have a place to grow in, so that we will have something to develop upon. We are in a great congress, and this attack, well, the Creator is cunning. He's sending us states in order for us to grow, and we will work together. We'll work together and be worthy of our state. We'll keep thinking about how to not think of ourselves, not to think of ourselves, to only think of the connection in the center of the 10 and focus on that, and always think of that. Always be in that, to reveal what is the center of the 10 and how the Creator lies theirs. Words. Preparation for the attack, and the attack itself begins already from now and all the time until the Congress, and this Congress itself truly establishes for us the conditions for an all-encompassing attack among us towards the Creator. For in the end this Congress is a connection of all of our desires for correction, for bonding, that the Creator will carry it out. We draw the Creator to the Congress between us, that He will enter and carry out the connection and be revealed to us as the correct form of connection. Mutual bestow. Again, preparation for the attack, and the attack itself begins already from now and all the time until the Congress. And this Congress itself truly establishes for us the conditions for an all-encompassing attack among us towards the Creator. For in the end, this Congress is a connection of all of our desires for correction, for bonding, that the Creator will carry it out. We draw the Creator to the Congress among us, that He will enter and carry out the connection and be revealed to us as the correct form of connection. Mutual bestow. Silent workshop. Let's move together from preparation to attack during the lesson. Again, silent workshop. Let's move together from preparation to attack during the lesson. Dear friends, in the first part of the lesson, we will learn from Rab's lesson from July 16, 2002. It is based on an article. What does it mean? That one who was in a far-off way is postponed to a second Passover in the work. You can find it in Hebrew in the second volume page, in Hebrew page 1331. In the second volume, we'll read the article together. We have 1 minute for it. Tet finish ahead of time. We're welcome to start a workshop on the main points in the article. What does it mean that one who was on a far-off way is postponed to a second Passover in the works? The Saw says Rabbi said men twice. Why? He replies, a man who is a man, meaning fit for reception of a high soul, but has blemished himself because he caused himself to be defiled. Man. Man means he's worthy of being a man or on a far-off way, since a person who defiles himself is defiled from above, and since he's defiled above, he is on a far-off way from that place and that road to which the descendants of Israel griped. It is written, if any one of you becomes impure or a soul or on a far-off way, which is the meaning of the word or. Reosi said here, when it says impure for a soul, it means before he is defiled from above, and when it says here a far-off way, it means after he was defiled from above and fell to our off way, which is the SRA, the other side. This means that both will be devoid of Kedusha, holiness above, and will not do the Passover when Israel do it. So far his words. Our sages said, when one comes to defile, it is opened for him. When he comes to be purified, he's aided. We should understand what is written here, that when a person who defiles himself is defiled from above, he does not say that it is opened for him, but that he's defiled from above. Also we should understand why it is open for him, since the Creator does not complain against his creations. Rashi interprets that the Creator does not slander his creations, so why is he given from above some assistance that is to men's detriment? On the contrary, he should have been assisted from above. As it is written, he who comes to be purified is aided. If he's not given help for his benefit, at least they should not do above an act that is to his detriment. There are certainly many explanations in the literal but we should interpret this in our work. It is known that when a person observes Torah commandments in the manner of the general public, meaning to receive reward, and does not pay attention to the issue of the aim to bestow, he sees that each day he advances in the work. Since this is the truth, in the practice, everything a person does is registered to his name, and in that state called lishma, not for her sake, one cannot see that it is lishma, meaning that he cannot see that there is a matter of deficiency here, that it should be lishma for her sake while he is working lishma. Instead, the things he does generally illuminate for him. As a result, a person cannot see any deficiency in himself. That is, in terms of the general public, there is a correction that the things he does illuminate for him a surrounding light, which is a correction on the level of actions. Hence, one must be careful not to slight the practice of dua and mitzvot, even if it is only an action and without any intention. That is, even if a person does his deeds by coercion, it is still considered a great thing. Hence, people who still cannot work with the aim to bestow have a correction that they do not find any fault in the things that they do, so they will be happy with their work. As it is written, serve the Lord with gladness. Conversely, when a thought and desire come to a person, and he begins to feel that there must be the matter of intention in observing Torah and mitzvot, and he awakens to act not in order to receive reward, but in order to bestow, then begins a new order. The order is that at that time a person shifts to working on the left when he begins to criticize his actions, whether they are in order to bestow, and he enters the work called tumor, and this means that he begins to work on the purification of the kim vessels. It is impossible to work on purity before we know what is tumor impurity. That is, it is not enough that it is written that there is a matter of impurity, but one must feel what losses the impurity causes, what he loses by knowing that he is defiled, meaning what he would gain if he were not impure, and what he loses now that he has been defiled. In other words, although before he began the work of bestow, he knew that there was the matter of impurity and purity, he did not know why impurity was bad and purity was good. Therefore, one must engage in recognition of evil, meaning to try to grasp that the will to receive for oneself is called impurity. That is, this impurity removes him from kasher, meaning from the Creator. As it is written, you will be holy for I the Lord, your God, am holy. This means that you will be removed, meaning that as the Creator gives, so man should try to make all his actions be with the quality of bestow, and this is called, the opposite of this is called impurity. A person should ask the Creator to help him grasp the evil that is found in the will to receive for oneself, meaning that the Creator will help him feel the loss that the will to receive for oneself causes him, and how much he could gain if he had the power of the desire to bestow. In other words, great impurity or small impurity, and a great or small, are not measured by the size of the impurity or holiness, but by the measure of harm that the impurity brings and the measure of importance that the brings, meaning how much he suffers when he knows that he is impure, and how much pleasure he would feel when he knows that he is in holiness. According to the above, we should interpret what we asked about what our sages said. He who comes to defile, it is opened for him. We asked the Creator does not complain against his creations, so why is it opened for him? This implies that he's shown that he can go further into the impurity, whereas before he came to defile, the place of impurity was closed, and only when he came to defile, it was opened for him from above. There should have been mercy on that person, as it is written, and his mercies are all of his deeds. We should interpret the meaning of he who comes to defile. It means that one who wants to begin the work of bestow certainly cannot work in order to bestow, unless he knows the laws of working in order to receive, which is why he now comes to know the measure of the bed that exists in the will to receive for oneself, meaning what is the measure of the bed that is found in the will to receive, which is called impurity, which is the opposite of kadasher. He asks the Creator to let him know the measure of the bed that is found in the will to receive. That is called impure, meaning impure for the soul. When he asks the Creator to help him, the answer to that is it is opened for him to see the bed that exists in the impurity of the will to receive. There are 2 discernments. 1. Coming to defile. 2. Seeing that he is already impure and wanting to see more than he sees. Now, if he asks to see more, he is helped from above, as it is written here in the Zohar. The person who defiles himself is defiled from above. In other words, once it is open for him, and he sees that he has been defiled, and he asks for more to be shown the truth, that he is so far from Kedusha, then he is defiled from above. That is, he receives help from above by being shown the loss that is found in the will to receive for oneself. This is regarded as arriving at a state of recognition of evil. At that time a need is born in him called a kli, a vessel that the Creator will help him and give him the purity. As it is written, and I will sprinkle on you pure water. By this we can interpret what we asked. Why does Zahar say the person who defiles himself is defiled from above? After all, the Creator does not complain against his creations. The answer is that being defiled from above is help, meaning he is assisted from above to see the truth of how the will to receive is dead and impure, since now he is asking for this help because he wants to see the truth about what is evil. Accordingly, we should interpret what asks about, who says about the verse, if a man is impure for a soul or on a far-off way, that a far-off way is also regarded here as impurity, but when he's defiled from above it is called a far-off way. It is written or on a far-off way, meaning that they are 2 things, meaning that a far-off way is not impurity. Explains, when it says impure for a soul, it means before he's defiled from above, and here when it says on a far-off way, it means after he has been defiled from above and fell to a far-off way, which is the other side. We should interpret that there are 2 discernments in impurity in the way of the work. 1. He who comes to defile, meaning comes to see if the will to receive is impurity, meaning that it inflicts stupidity of the heart. At that time it is open to him to see the evil, but before a person comes to defile, meaning to see the bad in him, there's a correction from above that a person cannot see the evil, since there's a rule that one is not shown more than one can correct in oneself. It is as in corporality, when one is not told one's true illness, if the illness is incurable. For this reason precisely, he who comes to defile, who wants to see the truth, it is open for him, if he wants to advance and prays to be shown the true measure of the bad that is found in the will to receive for oneself. He is assisted from above, meaning he is defiled from above. That is, he is shown from above the harm in impurity. At that time he begins to pray from the bottom of the heart that the Creator will give him the desire to bestow, instead of the desire to receive that he has by nature, and to be given a second nature which is a gift from above. By this we should interpret what is written. This means that both will be devoid of above, and will not do the Passover when Israel do it. In other words, both when a person is in the first state, when he comes to defile, and when he is in the second state, when he is on a far-off way, when he is shown from above how far he is from. He cannot do the Passover when Israel do it. We should interpret that Israel means that he is already in the quality of Israel, meaning that he's already in a state of straight to the Creator, meaning that all his actions are directed straight to the Creator. This is regarded as being in the right line, which is purity, meaning purity of the when all his actions are for the sake of the Creator. This is called lishmer. As was said, he who learns to the secrets of Jura are revealed to him. We should interpret that when a person is rewarded with the quality of Israel, this is the time to make the Passover offering. Israel means purity, and when a person is purified, this is the time to sacrifice the offering to the Creator, where sacrificing the offering is regarded as wholeness. This is as it is written in the Zohar. Rabbi started and said, "Serve the Lord with gladness." If ye say that such is the work of the offering, this is not possible, since that man has breached his master's commandment, the commandment of the Torah, and repented before his master. With what face will he rise before him? Indeed, by what are they corrected? It is by those priests and Levites who complete the join singing for him. He interprets there in the letter commentary in the Tsar that this matter will be corrected by the order of 3 lines. This is why when speaking of the Passover offering, which is the matter of the exodus from Egypt, there must be the intimation in our work that first we must achieve purity, and then comes the nearing, and we rewarded with Kedusha. However, a person must believe that when he's awakened to enter the work that it comes to him from above, meaning he's brought closer from above, so he will have connection with Kedusha. Certainly, he must be thankful to the Creator for pulling him out from the state of loneliness and elevating him to the domain of Kedusha, meaning that he began to feel that there is a higher place from which to receive provision, that his provision should not be as that of animals, but that he should receive provision from the speaking level, and the more he is grateful, the more he increases that feeling. Yet at the same time, he must know that he should ask the Creator to raise him to an even higher state than the one he is in now, to be rewarded with the Torah. That is, although he depicts to himself that the state he is in is very important, meaning that he cannot imagine greater importance in the world, he should still say, as much as I depict my current state as very important, I still cannot depict the true importance. As much as I depict a state of greatness, I should say that although I am as thankful to the Creator as can be, nevertheless, above reason, I believe that there is a higher state than the one I am in now, and I am asking you to give me a greater gift. By this we should interpret what is written, I will always long, meaning that there are higher degrees than what I can picture to myself, although one should know that as much as he appreciates the current state, it is truly more important, because a person cannot grasp the value of a tiny moment of spirituality. Still above reason he believes and asks for it. This is the meaning of the words I will always long, meaning that I will be able to depict that there is more greatness than I can depict. This is the meaning of what is written, and I will add to all your glory. This means that although now I praise you, I'm asking you to be able to praise you more than I can, and I want to add to your glory. However, when one should reflect on his spiritual state, and the person is brought before the judge within his hearts, so he would give the verdict whether one is guilty or innocent, meaning that sometimes the judge acquits him because he cannot pay the debts that he must pay. At that time a person needs mercy. That is at times the judge within his heart belongs to the wicked, those who condemn their Maker and not themselves. It follows that these judges cause a person to go to the prison of the criminals against the king, as it is written, dwellers of darkness and the shadow of death, prisoners of poverty and iron, for they rebelled against the words of God and spurned the counsel of the Most High. Although there might be good judges, they are taking a bribe. That is, the judge in his heart is concerned with his own benefit. Therefore, he always sides with man's detriment. Then a person has no other choice but to ask the Creator for mercy and to give him a real judge. Person sees that there is no real judge but the Creator. In that regard, we should interpret what King David said, Arise, God, judge the earth, for you will inherit all the nations, meaning that the Creator will be the judge. At that time a person receives the strength from the Creator, for you will inherit all the nations. For then one inherits all the nations in his heart. The order of the work should be primarily about one thing, to work against man's reason. That is, when a person is told that he must work for the sake of the Creator and not for himself, this is against man's reason. After all, it is written, and lives by them, and not that he will die. That follows that this contradicts the purpose of creation, which is to do good to his creations. We can interpret this through Abraham's trial. On one hand, the Creator told him, For through Isaac, your descendants shall be named. But then it is written, Take now your son, your only son, and offer him there as a burnt offering. We should interpret this in the work. Your son Ben comes from the word bener, meaning understanding. Your only one, meaning the only understanding that there is in man, which man guards with his heart and soul, that no one will no harm will come to it, namely the will to receive for his own sake, and offer him as a burnt offering, meaning slaughter the will to receive for one's own sake. cancel it, and work only with the desire to bestow, and not with the will to receive. Afterward he said, do not stretch out your hand against the lad. We should interpret that we should not say that he should revoke the will to receive. Rather, one should work so he can use the will to receive in order to bestow, and the parts that he cannot direct in order to bestow are forbidden to use. We can interpret this by what he said to him, and Abraham went and took the ram instead of his son. Ram is called Bener, as it is written in the Zohar, where he asks why a ram and not a horn, and he answers that a ram is regarded as Bener and a horn is Malot. We should interpret that Malot is the will to receive, therefore the vessels of reception that we cannot aim, so they work in order to bestow are forbidden to use. Instead of them, we use the kalim of bin, which are called vessels of bestow. Accordingly, we can understand that when a person feels that he is not all right, that he is a sinner, it does not come to him because he did many bad deeds. Since there's a rule transgressing and repeating it becomes to him as permitted. Hence, many sins do not make one feel his fault. Rather, the size of the sin is measured by man's feeling of how far he is from the Creator. In other words, to the extent that one feels and believes in the Creator, to that extent he feels how far he is from the great King. This means that when he feels that he's a sinner, he must know that the Creator let him feel a little bit that there is a king in the world. This feeling which he received from above causes him to feel that he is a sinner. But when he has no connection to the Creator, how can he feel that he has sinned before the Creator and did bad things which are against the Torah, when he does not know that there is the giver of the Torah in the world? Rather, the sensation of the sin is according to the measure of his faith in the greatness of the King. To that extent he can feel the measure of the sin. This means that the sin is measured in the one who floored. This is, as our sages said, the matter of shame is all according to the one who shames and the one who is ashamed. We should interpret that if the one who shames his part, he can know if one shames one who is great, it is a grave sin. That is, the one who shames has the intellect to appreciate the size and importance of the one who is ashamed. It follows that he has committed a grave sin. However, if the one who shames does not have the intellect to appreciate the importance of the one who is ashamed, it cannot be said about him that he has committed a grave sin and needs great atonement for the flaw that he has floored in someone. Therefore, according to the sensation of the greatness of the King, so is the sin. But if a person is righteous, meaning that he has some understanding of the greatness of the King, his floor is certainly greater than that of an ordinary person. It follows that we always measure the importance of the King that a person has according to the person's feeling. Therefore, if one feels that he has sinned, it must be that he was given from above some nearing to Kedusher, and this is why he feels that he has sinned. It is as Balaam said about what our sages said, that the Creator is meticulous with the righteous as a hairbreadth, as it is written, and around him, and around about him was very stormy. He asked, why do they deserve more punishment than others? He said that one who is righteous says that the Creator is meticulous with him as a hairbreadth. Therefore, when one feels that he has sinned, he should not be alarmed. On the contrary, it is a sign that he is being brought closer from above. Therefore, he must overcome and take upon himself the burden of the kingdom of heaven, and he will succeed. It's an article that has many terms in it, many terms that are about the nuances of man's work, what work is considered impurity, what work is in the right direction, and when the person already feels that the Creator is giving him these states, then he's ashamed, then that too needs to be justified. In short, a lot of inner work, and we have to hold on to the environment strongly so that the scrutinies towards these states will be correct. Yes, in spirituality, everything has an explanation. Everything has a benefit. As he says in the article, that even the impurity, even being wicked, are things that we need to discover, so it will be possible to work to bestow. We need to discover the evil. We shouldn't be alarmed that you are a sinner or something, but rather realize the Creator has sent it to you in order for you to advance towards him and work on reaching the quality of pistil. We'll move on to a lesson from July 16th, 2002. Article from We read an article from the Ranks of the Letter Volume 3 page 105. And what does it mean that one who was, in a far-off way, he's postponed to a second Passover in the work? The Creator created the created being. The Creator is good and does good. Unique and unified, whole, eternal. There is no greater or lower degree. It's simply him, and he cannot create a created being on a lesser degree than his. As it is written that from the complete operator, cannot in complete operations cannot emerge. This is how the created being was created on a degree on the most perfect state. What does it mean most perfect? Like the Creator, that he exists in the same state as the Creator. It is considered that he is in adhesion with him, because in spirituality the compatibility, equivalence of form means adhesion. What is adhesion? The final last degree of matching. Why is it the final and last degree of matching? There are no other states. The Creator is perfect, and he created a created being in a perfect state. Right, but the created being that was created in a perfect form is incapable of feeling this state. He must understand it, feel it, appreciate it, live it, be in it, in order to give the created being the possibility to get to know his state, to feel his state. The Creator gives the created being such an opportunity through the concealment. He hides this perfect state from the created being, and then he gives the created being the possibility to appreciate the incomplete state and the complete state bit by bit from the smallest discernments, where in each and every discernment the created being needs to see who he is, the opposite of the whole of the perfect, which is called an egoist compared to the whole who is called an altruist, and so that the created being will check and appreciate these two states and prefer the complete state versus the incomplete state, until the created being checks and corrects his attitude from incomplete to complete. He cannot advance to that state of wholeness. This is the matter of the degrees, that in a gradual manner there are these 125 such states in which the created being compares the incomplete to the complete, and he wants to be in wholeness, and then he acquires a degree, and so each time he advances toward the recognition of the state in which he truly exists. When he reaches this state, it is considered it is truly in adhesion in unity with the Creator. This is why the created being is called Jewish, from the word unity. When he has achieved the unique, these states are called either a transgression and a mitzvah commandment. When he compares these two states that he's going through, and here Balaam writes in page 112 that a person can feel that he is in a state of sin only according to the feeling of the Creator, which is called faith. What does he write? This means that when a person feels that he is a sinner, he should know that the Creator let him feel a little bit that there is a king in the world. This means that according to the feeling that there is a king in the world, he feels that he's a sinner. That feeling that he received from above causes him to feel that he's a sinner, whereas at a time that he has no connection with the Creator, meaning he does not feel the Creator, how can he feel that he has sinned before the Lord and did bad things which are against the Torah, while he does not know that there is the giver of the Torah in the world, but rather the feeling of the sin is measured by his faith in the greatness of the King. What does it mean, his faith, according to his feeling? We who exist in this world, for us all of these true spiritual definitions, they take on a different content. So for us, faith means just some sort of a psychological feeling that a person has confidence in something that he doesn't even know what it is. He does it because of some education from some early habit, and he thinks that this is what is called faith. But here, when we cross the barrier, and Rabash speaks about states which are beyond the barrier, the meaning of faith is the true meaning, meaning the feeling of the Creator that gives a person the ability to appreciate or value his state compared to the true state, and accordingly determine what is truly preferable. What is a crime? What does it mean to be a wicked sinner compared to the perfect state? This is why our time is called a time of preparation. Our state is called time of preparation, and we have nobody or no one with whom to compare ourselves. but rather we have to do all that it is within your hand to do. Do it in order to reach the barrier, and then beyond the barrier already. We begin to feel the difference between the true state in which the Creator created us and the opposite of it. And then in this difference between the right and the left, meaning a state in which the person is as a sinner compared to the magnitude of the faith, meaning the measure of the feeling of the Creator as whole, when he then goes and approaches the state that he truly exists in. Pallison compares it with a state where a person is in a dark room in the cellar, and bit by bit they turn on the light, and then he also sees what is the true state he is in, according to his preparation. As much as he has prepared himself, he used this state like the Creator in the form of in order to bestow in the form of giving, so that he will see that the quality of the Creator, opposite, compared to its opposite, it's all in, all giving versus reception. Are there any questions? No. Yes. He says that a person needs to exert in order to reach recognition of evil. To exert to reach the recognition of evil simply means that opposite, that we should see the good. No concept can be attained except through the opposite state. This is why we need to yearn to the state that is opposite us. If we will see what is that state which is the opposite of us, out of that we will want it. For us in this world, the state which is the opposite of us is manifested in the same subject, in the will to receive. That is pleasure versus lack of pleasure. But the maximum that I can want is to yearn for the Creator is a source of pleasure, an imaginary pleasure for the time, seemingly to enjoy from him in order to receive. I am lovesick, which we can actually say are states, two opposite states, the lack and pleasure that can exist in me. Whereas beyond the barrier there we already enter the comparison of the two qualities, egoism and altruism, giving and reception, the quality of the Creator and the quality of the created being, in order to receive, in order to bestow. It doesn't matter how you call it. So these are truly two forms of nature, the nature of the Creator and the nature of the created being. Whereas before the barrier, it is imaginary. It's as if there is some sort of a gap here between giving and reception, or between pleasure and lack of pleasure. Go ahead and ask. Yeah. We always say that we want to reach the recognition of the good, not to yearn for the recognition of evil. We don't need to know the evil. Our goal is to reach the good. But this means that on the condition that a person is ready to reach the good, then they let him see how much he's the opposite of it, so that he will perform this equivalence of form, meaning first he needs to compare those states, what is bad, what is good, what is a sinner, what is the opposite of it whole. Then accordingly he should work. After he sees that, he will perform all the deeds that will build in him a relation to the desire for the whole from the opposite of it. He is being led to feel the opposite, to being in the opposite in order to prefer the good. This is actually our whole path. We exist to begin with at the end of correction. Bit by bit they let us feel according to the measure of the suffering that we're able to suffer, according to our willingness to suffer. They let us feel what is the wholeness which is the opposite of us, that we suffer and we want it. We suffer and we want it. We suffer and we want it. We invert our attitude. There is no more here than determining our attitude. This is what we have to work on to change within us, the way we relate to giving, that this is something that is whole compared to reception, which is something that is flawed, and it's the opposite. When we read the articles, we have to check precisely which concepts we're speaking with, or is it before the barrier or after the barrier? Before the barrier. All of these words, it's like ordinary people interpreted what is faith, what is adhesion, what is bestow, you shall love, and all of these things, meaning they all exist in a single substance, a substance of the will to receive. And we don't really have here two truly opposite things, and there is no difference here between the nature of the Creator and the nature of the created being. And also faith, all in all, means some sort of an inner agreement, which comes from education mostly, or because of some influence, the influence of the society, and we use that as if we know Whereas beyond the barrier, this whole concept receives a completely different meaning. And then, it is two forms of nature, the creator and the created being. Bestow and reception are completely contradictory things. It's not that both of them are in the will to receive, but bestow is truly in the desire to bestow, and reception is truly in the desire to receive, and faith is no longer considered some kind of an ability of the person to go with his eyes shut, without any knowledge. This is called faith below reason, but rather faith above reason is when a person receives some force from above, meaning the feeling of the Creator that helps him to rise above his nature and go against the will to receive in bestow, to give up on his own nature. This is called the force of faith, meaning the feeling of the Creator. His greatness gives this power. What does it mean to change the attitude? To change the attitude means that now I'm in self at the end of correction and the Creator in order for me to appreciate this state and not to just be in it like an embryo that He created me and that's it, but rather that I will value it instead of nefesh I will feel of. So I need to go through the recognition, the awareness of where I'm seemingly from unconsciousness to reach complete consciousness, complete awareness. For that He needs to show me bit by bit my state and its opposite, my state and its opposite, my state and its opposite. This is considered to show me the two lines. I choose to be in wholeness compared to lack of wholeness. To be without awareness, it's a sweet state. It's a good state to be in awareness. Means to give, to exert. This is what it is called for me, right? A state of a great effort, a very uncomfortable state. And I need within me to reach the recognition that it's the opposite. How can that be? For that I need to receive from the Creator His qualities, His power. So then in the end I don't just reach from the incomplete to the complete, but rather I reach a teaching with Him because I have to constantly ask of Him, demand from Him. So for me it turns out that myself and the perfect complete state and the means by which I reach that whole state, the force that I will receive from Him, it all becomes the same. And then each time that I ask for that, I'm going on a straight path, like in the letter in on page 64, fruit right, where it's just to distinguish between one of the other, by that I won't reach the goal. I will say, yeah, indeed giving is a good thing, but giving and the Creator will not be the same thing for me on B1, but rather it would be, I'll imagine it to be something which ultimately it will be the clip of the shells. Giving it's in the shells. It's the highest value in the shell. Giving is the upmost value. The shell takes pride in the giving, right? But for her, giving is disconnected from the Creator. And then these are subtle things. This is why it's called the shell. It shines. Seemingly it has the ability to draw. It doesn't draw that come to me, you'll receive that I receive. But no, it's like the serpent. If you will go for it, you will be giving and the Creator will get great pleasures, etc. This is something that's very difficult for us to understand. We don't even exist in this nature, so it all comes only through the comparison and using the force of the Creator. You talk now about two kinds of faith. The true faith, which is beyond the barrier, and faith anything there is in the spiritual world, also exists in this world, but in this world it's all in the nature of the world to receive, and therefore it is called an imaginary world. What's imaginary? That these aren't real terms, opposite terms, but in the world receive it's like a demo. It's like in kindergarten, nothing's actually real. But you play these things that are seemingly real. Both the will to receive is in the will to receive, and the will to bestow is in the will to receive, meaning both faith and giving and all the qualities are. And the truth is it's not even a will to receive. It's a kind of like for kids. It's not the true cruelty of the will to receive, all the more so. It's not the will to bestow, of course, but it's like a game for now to recognize discernments. And from these discernments, you come to a desire for something that truly is called spirituality seemingly. And the Creator sees that you as if are ready for it. Or you've made some labor, like a child, not knowing why and how. You grew and then He puts you in school. What's the difference between faith, which is a psychological phenomenon that ordinary people talk about versus the faith that we use in our work. The faith that's used by the common people, it simply comes from education, from listening to friends, to the environment, to their greatest of the generation. They have inner confidence to go and do actions in life that seem from a foreign eye as irrational actions, getting up early in the morning to go to pray in the synagogue or even to give some charity or to make actions of mitzvot, meaning these are things that are irrational, that are done for the belief that it will bring a reward in this world, a reward in the next world, that my children will be better off and all kinds. You know the Zohar interprets this inma. There he interprets what is the measure of fear and why a person does that. Those who begin not the common people, those who begin to work in the individual work towards the Creator, but they're still before the barrier in the time of preparation. The two are still in the same concepts. The will to receive is still a will to receive, but they already begin to sense all of their qualities. Opposite surrounding light, opposite the point in the heart, and then the point in the heart and the surrounding light. They're the same because they connect to each other. It's like within the person there's a point in the heart that receives illumination from outside, and it has the heart hole, the other desires, and then he seemingly is a dual state where he has a kind of a feeling of the true state that is above the barrier. This is still inside the heart. We call it a point in the heart, meaning it is a point that is under his ego, but nevertheless he feels some relation to spirituality. These are also imaginary states. It's not actually two forms of nature, bestowing and receiving, but you can already assess that there are not that he has it, but that there are qualities that he is referring to that exist in a truthful way above the barrier or beyond the barrier, and that it's possible that he can reach them. He has some assessment that there is something. However, those who don't have a point in the heart, and they have nothing with which to compare the heart against the point is a part of God from above, as if this the spiritual one. So they think that their faith is about going and doing all of the customs called commandments. I'm not saying this degree was cancelled. The Creator didn't create anything redundant. But there's a very big difference between these two degrees. This is called the reason of Torah, when you already have some light, some feeling towards spirituality, and the reason of the landlords, which are only exists in the world to receive, and that becomes two opposite things, where reason of Torah is opposite to the reason of the landlords. Even before the barrier, these are already opposite things, to the point that one cannot understand the other. What the common people put into what they read, the interpretation, and what the worker of the Creator puts into what he reads. Even at the time of preparation, he's still not working truthfully. But these are completely opposite things. Their interpretations are different. In the common people, the interpretation only comes from the will to receive, and for the one who's in the time of preparation, his interpretation is already in relation to the point in the heart, to the surrounding light. He already has a different interpretation. He understands that this is truth and that is not truth. And so in his actions, you can also begin to see how he begins to disregard bodily actions, and he begins to investigate and go through his thoughts, his intentions, and that's the beginning of the right relation, right attitude. How can a person discern if he has the point in the heart or not? Yet, if he has a point in the heart or not, how can a person discern that he has an attraction to engage in spirituality? Oh, there's quite a number of people I think who simply follow along those that they hear from them for a while to engage in. There's a significant amount of people who are carried after those who say we should engage in spirituality, and there are some among them who still, the time didn't come to enter the time of preparation, but they're out of appreciation, and they help those who are in the time of preparation, all the more so those who are beyond the barrier, and by that they hasten their development. We had such examples with Rabash, where I brought some folks from Tel Aviv, so there were all kinds of people. There were some that Rabash said he shouldn't stay, even though they stayed. Some stayed afterwards, some 5, Friends came, as guys. Connected together young. And they even lived in the same apartment. They went to the same institute or another place, and I dragged them from there. I gave them lectures. What really broke them was the letter from page 63 of The Sage's Fruit. We didn't have that book printed yet, but I printed that article for them and showed them that it's like this cube that you either enter the goal or you miss it. And at first it's a little deviation but you don't know it, but you're like just flying away from the goal. And they were shocked to see that. And they understood that this is a letter of Baram, and it's not me now putting it together. And I remember that was a critical point. And then they came, let's say 5 people, and would say him, I don't know, I don't think he should stay. He said it in a nice way that he said it to me. And the others will see, but those other 2 or 3 out of the 5 or 6 shouldn't, and what can I do? And everyone stayed. And then I asked him, well, what do you think? And he said advancing still there they get experience and advance instead of doing another 20 life cycles or who knows how many until they have a point on the heart. They'll do it in one life cycle and maybe even in this life. In this cycle he'll already enter the work. Whether he finishes it or not, that doesn't depend on us. You can't know in advance. The greatest Kabbalist cannot know because it stems from a unique root of each and every soul. You can't make any calculations here. Just open it to anyone. So you see it's open, 1,000 enter the room and as many are there. Some leave. So they don't feel the point in the heart. They don't see in that interpretation a response that comes to them from within. You understand. Nothing actually speaks. I remember until I started feeling. War started with me the introduction to the Book of Zohar, and I already went into it for a few years, 4 years. Before that I started reading, really hearing the books, all of those things. I heard a little bit of the introductions even though I didn't understand anything, and I remember he started the introduction to the Book of Zohar with me, and then he stopped teaching. I didn't understand anything. I hear, I don't hear, I hear, don't hear. The terms are different. I myself didn't understand those terms. Some I grasp, but some not. So it's a problem, bit by bit, just patience. And opposite, that there were people who are brought from Tel Aviv, and they were really brilliant. They grasped everything. They started feeling it. And I remember Rabash gave me a private lesson, and then some guy came in and he asked, so we gave him a permission to stay, and Rabash started explaining to me some concept, and I barely understood, barely grasping. It was very hard within to analyze it and chew on it. And that guy started so easily discussing and responding to it. And before that he wasn't in anything. And I felt opposite him, so coarse, so dumb, so not feeling anything. And Robert left, and I got mad. It was. I already studied with him for 6 months. 6 months perhaps, and before that I made a lot of efforts, and now this guy just comes in and suddenly begins to feel and answer and ask him about things where that I barely understood where that is for me. I remember they started discussing love of others, and I felt myself like a light in the gutter, and that guy afterwards went away. He left, meaning he didn't leave completely, he stayed. No religious. Then thank God, and so forth. He was very pure. He felt those things from his purity, felt many things. He as if felt spirituality. He was that pure or refined. So you understand, you can't know in advance what happens to each and everyone. It's truly personal development, and it says just as their faces are not similar, so do their souls. And so never make these calculations unless a person truly harms the society in some way, or you really just can't hold him off, and he corrupts the others. And meaning if there's a true corruption that comes from him, then you need to ban him. But if not, he can sit down and bit by bit, he nevertheless does big things internally. Oh, we have an example. You see, every day, every morning he comes to study. Well, we call that every morning. Yeah. What does that mean? That a person is not shown more evil than what he's capable of correcting himself. So he doesn't have to. We are at the end of correction right now. From the end of correction, We feel the weakest, the flimsiest state. Why? We can't bear more than that. That's exactly the portion the Creator measures from you to you for you from above, on which you can discern between good and bad, and by the actions, by the efforts that we can make to prefer the good over the bad. As to begin with, the bad seems good to you and the good seems bad. So by your actions you scrutinize and invert that assessment from bad to good, and vice versa, meaning that giving is now called good for you and receiving is called bad. If you've made that discernment, if you wanted to adhere to the giving, and you have, and it happens to each and everyone, even if we don't feel it, this is called the measure of truth that gradually forms within the person. Yeah, that it was born, and now it grows gradually, and you can't agree with that. You can't bear that. You can be killed, but doesn't matter. It already becomes yours. We don't feel, but this is the beginning of the measure of bestow that you've already acquired, and each time you're capable of doing this discernment between good and bad only to a very small extent, so that it doesn't appear to you as two mountains that you just fall between them, and that's it, but rather this is good, this is bad, and you know other than this is good, and that is bad, that it's bitter and sweet, and those things are inverted, and then a person makes the calculation, and then bit by bit you can prefer, even though the sweet is bad and the bitter is good, but you prefer bestow upon reception, and that happens time and again, 125 such comparisons, until you come to the end of correction, until you say completely and utterly that the Creator is good, and the opposite of him is bad. But here it says he's in a faraway land, meaning far from the Creator. So how does he know? How is he shown? It's written that he's not shown the real thing, but he's told you're wicked. You're not a great, very big wicked, but you like that bit by bit. It's not clear. It's as if a person is far from the Creator, a faraway road. That's what's written here. The Creator is above. Let's describe it simply. All right, man is below. Yeah, from man, where he is now, towards the Creator. Two lines rise within the person. These two lines meet like the edge of a triangle, and the Creator is where those two lines are separate, far away from each other. That means that you're rising up the degrees, getting closer to the Creator as these two lines become further apart. Right, the nature of the Creator, the right line, and the nature of man, or the opposite of the Creator's nature, that's the left line. Yeah, and when a person is in the left line, he thinks that's his nature, but it's not his nature at all. We have no nature. We're actually not this or that. The Creator gives us the opposite of him. That's the concealment, which builds the opposite of him, which is reception. And then there's him, which is bestow. And we exist between those two lines, between those two assessments is where we are to begin with. You are on the left. You think it is sweet, and the opposite you think of it as bitter, that it's impossible to do and bear, and how to give up everything to give, to not think of oneself, and so on, and by this scrutiny of not bitter and sweet, but rather truth and false, and that's a scrutiny that can only happen if the Creator shines to you, then you in you transform these terms so that truth becomes calms, sweet, and false becomes bitter, and that's it. Well, you know, it's not really that important, that simple, but that's the principle. The truth is, I was asking if it's like he's given a little more and a little more each time, then it's as if each time you can be as much as you can be between truth and false in that pressure. Between them, they're in their opposites. Then you're allowed to rise, but all according to the structure of the soul. These degrees are predefined, say 125 degrees. That's how we're built, that at these levels we can bear not more than that, and that measure is exactly according to our measure of discernment, meaning what's the difference between the degrees and what's the difference for us. So it's to the same extent you understand less than that, we're not going to be able to feel any difference. More than that, we won't be able to bear the difference, so you can't jump or skip over degrees. Now let's share impressions from the lesson and what we take from it to implement in the 10. Well, first of all, started from the Creator being whole, and then creating a whole creation, but the created being couldn't feel the wholeness of the Creator, and thus, that's where the whole concatenation began, and so we, from feeling this detachment from the Creator, we have to come to it through our work, and then there's many nuances and many subtleties in order to be able to do that. Yes, I like to question about how to know if the friend has a point in a heart, or someone who comes to study, how does he know he has a point in a heart, or maybe he's just wasting time. So I've said that he really can't know. Each one has a unique root of the soul, but you cannot know where it might lead. It might be a person that you have no faith in him. He seems to like he's the worst he can make it, and the ones that seem most brilliant will not. He also gave an example about himself and the friend who was so brilliant, and in the end he went toward religion. So, the privilege of each one to study this wisdom and to reach the goal. Yeah, this entire article left side the right side. It's showing us how Qolists, our great Qolists, simply went through this period and to this entire time and show us all the steps you have to go through. What do you have to do? Where's the good? Where's the bad? Sometimes good is bad and bad is good. The person, only in his actions he has to scrutinize what are those states. Then you can always be on alone, but without the friends showing you your state in your work, your mental work, and look for another work. And this is connected to me. This is not for those on the path. There are states that the Creator sends them, and they have to relate to those states. In one of the articles he said, I'm not, I'm me, and that's these discernments, to scrutinize them. When am I making a sin? When am I righteous? When am I wicked? I have to be very close to the 10, because you cannot make these scrutinies alone. If you're dealing with yourself, what kind of discernment do you have? This is why working in the 10 means to know that I'm looking at a certain situation. I can't define it by myself. With my ego, I'll say that everything hurts me or is not right for me, but you have to see each state as a gift that the Creator sends, and for this we need to really hang on to the 10. Yeah, I agree. Rob's story with Rabash about this man who entered the room. Rash talked to him about love of others, and Rob felt how is low in that. So, we have a 10 that we're sitting in, and they said you can't tell about this quality of Bistal 'cause it's very slippery. So we have a place to scrutinize it in the tin all the time, to see, yes, no, as someone to talk to and ask. We were rewarded. What I liked is that there's no feeling of a sin or something that a person did. That's not good unless he is greatness of the Creator. The greatness of the Creator is the name of the game. It's what is important. Here, we'll go to the next part of the lesson. Before that, let's sing together. I see might all be like heaven. All he makes me feel like. Okay, hello friends. We're going into our weekly meeting, building a spiritual society, and we wanted to dedicate today's meeting to a topic we've been discussing a lot lately, the head of the 10, and why specifically now did we choose to dedicate this special time specifically to this topic? Both because we are before a very special 10s convention, and one of the future degrees of each 10 in our CLE is to see how it takes upon itself the role that there's ahead of the 10 within it. And also last week we talked about making decisions, or to make decisions in the 10, and how do we succeed as a 10 in deciding every step of the way on our spiritual path, and the head of the 10 is a direct continuation of that point. So today we'll want to talk about what is the head of the 10, what is his role from our perspective, the latest spiritual instruction we received from. It was born from him. I can testify about myself as one who got to be the present while he was talking about it. You could see how he is engendering a spiritual degree, and he's engendering it in a way that he is just stating, guys, you have to go for it, but it depends on you to decide if you're ready or not. And this is what we will do today. We will see and prove to each other how we are ready to step into the stage. We'll also check how the head of the 10 comes to replace the Shots and Gabby. Does he replace them or not? We'll touch upon these points as well. How do we choose the head of the 10? Who can be the head of the 10? every one part of us will touch that as well. Also a very important point, the head of the 10 should make, and that too we will begin to scrutinize together, how we make from within us a head to the 10. So that exercise is very, very important and fundamental, essential, but each 10 must decide for itself if it's ready for it or not. Yeah, we heard often, what is a 10? A 10 is not the people. A 10 is the place, is this common yearning together. The greatness of the goal that's created between us when we invest in it and want it and place it, position it above everything else. We're people. Each one has his own desires, and in that process of development our ego grows and develops. So we need this mechanism that will help us protect ourselves and ensure that the greatness of the goal remains above everything all the time. We see then practice that there are 10s who manage more. There are those who manage less, a little more. Sometimes there are all kinds of quarrels, arguments, fights, and such an extent that people can't overcome and leave, and that state is not good because we're not able to maintain what we're trying to maintain as the highest. And here Rob used to get involved with everything you could ask him about, anything seemingly simple. It wasn't the state of today. What we see, how we see, we are developing and our ego is growing. This is our path. When we have a head of the 10 who knows, who personally knows each one of the friends, and he knows the challenges each one is facing. He knows what each one is going through. He knows his descents, how he behaves during descent and during ascents, because there's nothing more intimate and we all know one another. We know everything. We just need to decide that we are null toward one of us, which is the head of the 10 given moment, and he can help us solve most of the problems we have. Why? Because we decided that we are all before him. So it's very, very important that this mechanism exists. Certainly in the 10 that's interested in having that mechanism, and then it can solve many things, many challenges, problems that pop up and arise from the work on in the field, as it were. He couldn't if he can't succeed. And some also appeal that the decision, the state, they can go higher and higher, the head of the department in the different languages and above it as well. But the assumption is that we can solve most things in the 10 if only we select the head that will be the head for the time that we decided on. Now let's watch a clip with the definition of the head of the 10. What is the definition of the head of the 10? The head of the 10, he feels. He has the ability, such a person from within the 10, he has the ability to connect everyone. Is it a spiritual role or an organizational role? Both. Why do we need a head? If the principle in the 10 is that when we connect together, the connection between us is the head. In the connection between us, we feel the creator and get the guidance. So why do we need, yes, a head in the 10? So to have someone to turn to. We turn to him, to the friend. Yes, and what power does he have now to organize to connect us in the end? We have to connect together. Also, true. So what is the uniqueness of the head of the 10 that we choose? I think that because the 10 is a closed vessel, hence there has to be a row ahead. So now we'll move to an active workshop, discussing the question, why do we need a head? What is it that the connection between us cannot give without a head? Again, why do we need a head to the 10? What is it that the connection between us cannot yield if we don't have a head to the 10? I think we need a head because in each spiritual structure there's something there's an upper part that bestows to the lower part or influences the lower part. If we don't have that structure and the 10 has states of disagreement, conflicts, and you need a decision, sometimes the 10 itself, it's hard for it to decide. And when we have a head, there's annulment, and we learn that annulment is one of the most important things in spirituality. Even to now, before the head, that is part of the we appointed. That's already beginning of Lishma. Yeah, we need a head because a 10 is something very, very dynamic. There are ascents and descents, and there are all kinds of, how should I put it, all kinds of things that require immediate solutions. So if we choose a head and we are null before that head, it can solve many problems for us that we cannot solve as a 10 with very significant disputes, and the head can give the solution. because he received the authority from us and that spares us many headaches, is a structure. It's the tense fact where in each element there's a goof, there's a vessel, and when this vessel can do the work properly. To do it, someone needs to lead this vessel. Someone needs to say what needs to be done. Someone needs to run all these things, this structure. What's important is the role of the row of the head. Without a head, the tank cannot advance, and anyone who's in 10, if we're allowed toward the head can take from the upper one what truly needs to be done, the light of the upper one. Yeah, to create this thing called head, we need to create a structure between us. That structure takes the head. It's not like some sort of an executive in some company. The connection between us has to create a situation where we want to head to the 10. As we said before, there are many scrutinies where we scrutinize over and over again, and it's hard to come to a decision. And the head is someone we trust, who looks at the situation and can decide right left how to move forward. There are many 10s that are in that state of scrutinies for very long periods of time, and the fact that they decide, okay, so we have a head, and the head has the authority to decide for us. It will shorten processes and open up blocks that will enable us to advance. We try something, we see that it was wrong, maybe something else is better, so we change our decision, but at least there will be progress in the work. I think that the head of the tin is a spiritual matter. In spirituality, there's a structure, and the structure does not follow a corporeal hierarchy. It's clear you have to annul before it, but spiritually speaking, annulling is, it's the upper force, seemingly. Cancel corporality and you raise spirituality. It's a practical matter we're doing. You do it in the 10, and each one has to also find the head of the 10 inside of this place. Because the 10 is an eternal structure. This is how we're built. All the animals have a leader, a head. Only trees don't have a head. All the animals have a head. And there we have all the sight and the hearing in the head. Someone, the one who decides, is the head, and the whole body obeys the head. Everything depends on the head. Doesn't mean that the 10 now allows itself to not do certain actions because there's someone above it deciding what is the correct path. On the contrary, I see in the role of the 10 to accept the head a greater work than the head itself, because they decided that this is the head, and if they won't back it up and give it the strength, the power to do it, and realize the decision, because it came, the spiritual part came from the 10, and then it pours into the 10. So here you have this mutual work between the head and the tent. Yes, another special thing about the head which I heard from Rob is that if we choose the head with a general consent, then he gets spiritual strength. So our agreement, even his biggest mistakes, his decisions will be correct for the 10, because the creator is clothed in it if it's a common decision. So that's very important, to choose the head general agreement of the society, because we need to select the head that can lead us on a spiritual path. Okay, we're moving forward. We can hear the friends discussing. It's new, so there's a lot to discuss. Brings up many questions, and it's good. Afterwards, we'll have another workshop. Basically, we're talking about choosing a head, deciding that now we will have the head of the 10. But it's a mistake in our thinking, because the 10 is one complete body, one complete thing, and the head is just another organ in the system. There's no need for a head just like that to be head. There needs to be one common feeling, both the head and first of all, if we first need to have a heart, one heart, that we all have to come to. It's not a problem to decide on a head. It's technical. Today I'll be the head, next week he'll be the head, 2 weeks from now he'll be the head. That's technical. But a head that does not get support will not succeed. There will be no success in anything here. This principle and the meaningful exercise behind the head of the 10 exercise, there's a much more meaningful exercise, which is annulment. That's the crucial and important point in the beginning of every spiritual activity. Before the head of the 10 annulment, before the friend that we decided we chose, it didn't come from above. We decided that now MK is the head of the 10, and now we annul ourselves before him. And this is the most meaningful thing here in this exercise, that we will choose him every moment, elect him every moment as the head that we will appreciate him and want to hear through him. Why? Because by all of us kneeling before him, by exalting him, he gets our strength. He gets our willpower. He's got more powers now, more strength to receive. He's got more confidence to lead. The head is not someone who comes to put order or resolve conflicts like a judge. Who can be a judge? How can the will to receive judge? So the whole exercise in its essence. Here is a beautiful exercise of work in the 10 where we are all helping each other annul before the head, and then, like magic, all of a sudden in situations where there's no decision or there's a conflict, he's got more power to direct. He can make a decision if he wants to, but he'll know how to bring all the 10 together into unity. He'll bring us all together into connection, and out of that connection the resolution will come. The real head of the 10 is the creator. We only need to connect between us, and his role is to direct us. There is someone here was pushing and initiating. I felt it really on my shoulders in the week when I was the head of the 10. I felt like a weight on me, and if I thought for a minute, okay, so now push this way or that way. No, it only I felt that I need to bring everyone to have them expressed. I need to bring everyone into connection, and from that we will hear something. So that's the role of the head. Let's speak a little more in the workshop. There's a lot to talk about. Let's go into the definition of the role. What is the role of the head of the T? What is he in charge of? And how do we understand it again? What is the role of the head of the 10? What is he in charge of? And how do we understand him, the head? 8 minutes. Well, I don't think we'll know until we check it, but I think the role of the head of the 10 is to ensure the 10 keeps the commandments of the 10, to care about the centre of the 10, to work for the centre of the 10, to give all the friends a place to help the friends maintain the tent. The truth is I cannot understand it. I have no discernments. I don't have much to add in this, but if there's something in the 10 that someone's in charge of, then it's connection in the 10. That's for sure. I think that's the main work to see to the connection. Everything else I don't know. It's complex to say because every person is a separate entity. There's moments where you have to quickly make a decision, and the one who makes the decision is the head. And when you need to make her a quick decision. It's good to have her a head that decides. I too don't have a clear discernment. What is the head of the 10? I know what it's like to be a manager in corporality, but in the 10 what it means to be the head. Clearly it's the responsibility for the 10, but in the meantime I have nothing more to add. Is if we compare, like a distant comparison to the head, and the head is worthless without the body, and the body is worthless without the head, then they work in tandem, and the head belongs to the body. So the 10 itself comes from with a common feeling, and the role of the head is to organise the feeling of the thing, turn it into something active and constructive in the general feeling. As I understand the role of the head, it is to be concerned with maintaining the 10 functional appropriately. It's a big responsibility that we are giving to the head, also to solve various problems that we cannot overcome as a 10, and to pave the way for the 10, how to push the 10 forward to a higher degree. The head is not just an arbiter to resolve conflicts. It's a very serious and responsible role. That's it. He's both concerned and pushing and solving problems. But as we heard, everything is through, and we agree to take upon ourselves this role, that we agree to accept this role. The truth, I think it's hard to describe this thing if you were not in it, if you didn't feel it, you didn't get through it. And I think that you need to take this role. Each one has to go through their 10 one by one. What is a header? And feel it on his flesh, and then make the definitions. What is a head? What does it have to do? And you have to be in scrutinies. And if you were selected to be a head, you have a very tight connection with the 10. And from that to feel, and everything that moves in the 10 to have a feeling of the 10. It's very important for the head. Another way to look at the role of the head of the 10 is to look at from the other side. It looked at the head from the perspective of the 10. What deficiencies were bringing what problems, what challenges, what annulment we do toward the head. What support are we asking for him to give us? What deficiencies, and that should complete into become a complete puzzle, so that this we become in every complete you have each organ has its role. The head maybe may not move the hands and the legs, if no door opens to him. No deficiency, something to work towards. So there must be a lot of cooperation here between the head of the 10 and the 10. I also heard in one of the talks, they said that Rav highlighted that the important thing about the head and the force of the head comes from the 10. What's important in the choosing the head is the agreement of the tenant working on agreeing and selecting the head and agreeing to allow before it. This whole thing, and it's very curious to it's intriguing to investigate it and the many questions that arise, and I love these unknown things because I like to explore and discover things. That's why we study. We're a spiritual laboratory. And that's one more thing to investigate. Well, the head. Every animal needs a head. Okay, friends, we continue to the role of the head of the temp. We all remember that we had a shots and Abby, public messenger and a collector, and the shots was responsible for the spirituality of the group, would direct it. A cabby was more organizational. I don't know how it worked in each and every 10, but here the role of the includes both the shots and the gabby, and more meaning you don't have to limit this role, just like we know from the history of our group this Araf. There's someone who's great as said we give him the power, we make him if we don't make him, if we don't build him. If we do it we will feel our anointment to him seemingly, but if we don't give him this force, he's not ahead. He's not ahead by himself. It's only ahead because we decided for a week. So what kind of roles can be here? First of all, we'll see it from experience. We'll sit here in a few months from now after we all go through this rotation and we'll see the roles. But in general, in broad strokes, we don't separate corporate and spirituality. Everything that happens in the 10 is considered spiritual. So the role is both organizational and spiritual on the one hand. On the other hand, it can be the last authority, so to speak, if we have arguments and making decisions, and we said the most important thing is the process, the connection. So why should someone, it's not good for someone to make the final decision. But so it's possible that this head will say no, let's continue to scrutinize. It depends on the head and the force we bestow onto him, but we're not going to limit him in advance. So the main role is to lead the group to feel responsibility, for it will share impressions. I know there are a few 10s who have some experience. So someone who has been ahead, he feels responsibility. He constantly thinks how to advance the 10. That's his role. Not that I need to solve a problem. There are something, although this is also possible to include in the roles, and it's good because that friend is inside the 10 if he knows each and everyone. It's like a family, 7, 8, 10 years together. It's not some chaperone that barely knows people. Someone who knows how to solve things. Also we mentioned that if the whole 10, let's say there's an instance where the 10 does not agree with the decision of this head, it's possible our 10s are different. Also different on the degrees of development. There are new people. So there's always people who take care of the TS. There's heads of communities, heads of language, so don't be afraid. It's an exercise. We can always correct things. We don't know where it can develop. Those are the roles. Now we're going to go into how to select the head. What we are suggesting now to begin this process is to simply have a weekly roster each week, to change by roster, or each friend can be the head of the 10. As we said before, we have to give him strength, lift him, make him our head, and now before him. But at the moment there is nothing that prevents someone except for one thing. And if a person feel in himself and he really doesn't want it, then don't force him. But each one every week we change. This is how we will begin, and we will learn as we go. Now we want to watch clip number 2. Will teach us what is the power of the head of the 10. What power does one friend in the 10 have to solve the 10 all of its problems are as a result of what? By on whose authority are we chose one out of 10 people. He has authority, he has knowledge, He's got authority. He's got knowledge. He's got the obligation to organize, to put order in the tent. But what makes him special than others? In that they chose him. The fact that we chose him, we give him the power and the authority. Yes, and he acquires a force he didn't have before. No, so something new that he has now. Yes, that's beautiful. Do you think we are ready to try such a thing? I think that it's not important. If we are not, we specifically, but we need to want to advance. I don't understand why. We need why can't we out of a discussion, a workshop to get to a common decision? Why we the head to decide to everyone, not that we will reach a common decision. The disagreement is our head. No, but the fact that you choose someone specific, by this he becomes the head already. And then everything he says, and we all, himself ourselves toward it will be right. No, then no, I cannot say to continue, but it's clear that to the group, to all the members of the group, his word is a word. You want to go to a workshop in what? Or what is the difference between anneling to the head versus anneling to the friends in the tent? Again, what is the difference between anneling to the head and anneling to the friends in the tent? How is an different? Well, first of all, annulment toward the friends always remains, because a friend is actually a spiritual degree. Annulment before the head is another addition, I guess, to this. Addition of a not only spiritually, but also an corporally. Incorporality. Well, not exactly, but yes. So in the end, it is two sides. But when you feel that someone is your boss, your manager, it's even harder to annul, but the effort is greater. I don't know what's more complicated, to allow before one or to allow before the entire 10. You have to experience it in practice to know what it means to null before such a force. The entire 10 decided on including me, and each one of us, and he's the authority. It's not about dissolving among everyone, but comes from the world ultimately is the final say. I think the special thing with annulment before the head is the difference between before each friend. This is something very basic. There are friends that you don't really agree with them. You don't really appreciate them. And here, when you pick ahead of the 10, even if it's a friend who you don't appreciate, someone you think is unsuitable, and you have to annul before him, it's a greater effort, it's a greater annulment. You have to get the approval of the whole 10, and that's a difference. It's a very important difference. We see that there are friends in the 10 that you can't help it, you don't think that what they say, you should enroll yourself before it, but here, when the 10 decides it is final, you have no choice here. I agree with my. If you cannot before him, or you know you can't, it's something we can do even if you don't value him, but whether you see him as lower than, but when they force you to see him as great, because like the creator, it's very difficult for a person, and we need to work, so I think it's true that every person deserves to see who is he, if he's able to do it or not. I don't really know. I have all kinds of depictions about it. One, you don't annul before a single friend, but before the decision of the 10, before all the friends in it of the 10. You can think that if you see we're supposed to see friends as great, or asked to see the friends as great, so here we have the biggest friend now, the greatest friend, or if behind each friend hides it's the creator, that he is the creator already, or bigger than us. It's a force that the creator, that the 10 gave someone from the center of the 10, and the Kabbalist gave it to us as a means for advancement of the 10 and for development. And I wish for us to want it and do it. What I heard in the talk is the thing is that the entire 10 chooses the head, and I don't know if it's a difference in, and I don't have any discernments about it because we've never done it. I don't know what it is, so I can't speak about what I don't know. I don't have what do you know just to talk about it, but what it seems like the 10 chose the friend, and you're not to the 10. Let's see. What's the difference? I don't know. We decide on the head, that is one person. It's like incorporality with a group. It's more complicated. It's spiritual. We still don't know what is. And in spirituality, in the group, it's something complicated. It's hard to something. Of course it's not clear, but it's clear that I'm nulling toward the society and nulling toward each and every friend. As the head, as the representative of their society, that's the work you have to see. You have to start and see how to try and do it. I think it's an exercise that simulates work. opposite the creator. What you want to attain is the creator, but the one who represents the creator right now is the head of the 10, and he's exactly like you. He's flesh and blood, and you don't. He's not someone you cannot see, someone you can't see. So, I guess if it's hard in practice, it's easy in battle. So the harder work is in the practice. It's an exercise that will direct us how to work correctly with the creator. In the work, as I heard here, is very, I accept that annulment toward the head that was elected by the 10 is already spiritual because it's a 10. And that's the difference between a friend and a 10. It's a group already. Friends, we continue. We know there are a few turt. So if there are 10s or friends in the tent who want to share with us their impressions or some debates that they have doubts that they have, so you're invited from the whole world clear. You're invited to come and share until the friends who want to share will rise. I want to share a few things first. I want to remind us that we're talking about an exercise. Don't be afraid. Maybe things are not clear to me, that's unclear. So it's as if I need to get clear instructions. We begin with doing. Let's try. I've said several things with respect to the head of the sand. We collected them. Let's start experimenting from experience. We'll get the sermons, we'll get the understanding, and we'll know how to improve, especially that the whole world cleans our experimenting that will thrust us forward. So that's number 1. So experimenting is very important. We too had many questions. In the end, we try. By trying, we learn. I can say we are a small town, so we already finished the first cycle. We made a list. The one who is responsible for our weekly meal. We decided that he'll be the head of the 10. At the end of every weekly meal, we have a ceremony of changing the head of the 10. The baton is passed from head to head. That's 1. Number 2, a nice thing that we did was we summarized every week. Let's say we finished a week, so each one said what his impression was. First of all, the head of the 10 shared his impressions, and the rest of the friends shared from their side what was special for them. In this way, we collected discernments from each other, learned, and moved onward to next week. So it gave us precision and more strength and more discernment to the next head that came in. The meaningful thing that I saw with that friends in the tenet gave them a lot of strength when they were there. You suddenly feel the extra effort. How friends suddenly come even sooner to the preparation. Send exits during the day. You feel their prayer. You feel it. You want to support the head, so he will hold everyone. I'm constantly thinking what's happening with the head, and great effort was felt in the air. Number 2 that was special about it is that it's a week. It's not like it's just one day, and at the end of the day I feel relief. It's a week. It's this heaviness, and you also need the friend support, and we need to search for all kinds of exercises. We saw in the head that he is the 10 in today is beginning to take on everything that's in the group. You begin to see it in the 10 and in an individual 10. So we realize that the head is like just like I came before the rabbi, I came before the head of the tent and want to listen to him, receive from him through him. And we did it once. He doesn't even know we had an exercise about Dr. Blood. We said during the meal we will ask him questions like, and we asked if it's okay to do this, and said yes, yes, yes. He liked the exercise, said go for it. So we said let's ask him questions. So we started asking him questions about the study, about our work, and it was very special. In other words, exalt the friend to that level, and it will give us such strength. Don't be afraid to experiment with these things. I'm sure you'll get another good 1,000 more great ideas to thrust the 10 forward. Thus far sharing. Cock, you want to add? I think that my biggest impression from this exercise is, as two extreme ends. One is in order to have a head you need to want to have a head. That's something substantial. You learn how to appreciate and value each and every friend in the 10, and you must grow him, make him important. If you don't do it and not before him, then everything he's preparing this, and so it's not going to come to you. It will come to everyone, but not to you. So it's an exercise in annulment, so you can feel on your flesh, and also as far as a Responsibility goes when you're ahead. You feel like the 10 is in your hands, and whatever you will do with it, that's what will be this week. And if you do nothing, then the spiritual stop is because of you, and if you do something, the leap forward will be because of you also. So there's an exercise here that's so tremendous. You become the direct connection between the 10 and the creator for a week, for an entire week. And the 10 needs to want to enter this exercise, has to agree to get into it, because it brings it into a new layer of work inside of it, a layer of seriousness. I remember that one of the times where I've said that a 10 is, or a healthy 10 is a 10 with a head. And out of that place we need to see how together we enter this process. We create additional information, feeling, atmosphere that's giving us the confidence at it's possible that we're going for it. We were also asked if women's turns can a point ahead. So we'll talk about it this afternoon. But in principle, yes, each turn can, as was said before, if it wants to. That's the main thing in the end you wanted to share. Yeah, we wanted to share. So, a lot to share here. Actually, I liked how Rav gave birth to it suddenly. Why? Because suddenly, when I heard the lessons, since Rar started to talk about it, and also even in the lessons from 20 years ago, you can hear a direction for it. Suddenly the call is got a new meaning. It's very special. Special that we're able to discern and notice and discern such a direction. They lot to say, but I'll keep it short. First of all, we heard what Rav said. We scrutinized it in the 10. It took time. Are we ready or not? And after a long scrutiny, and we agreed together that we're ready, we started this process, and we're entering now the 4th week, 5th week. I say that I had an opportunity to be head of the 10 for years. I have reforms and plans for the 10 and things. And I said, well, great, I have an opportunity to do it. But the minute I got the role, we just talked about it. I felt how, I don't know how to say it, but I felt a new spirit that just close in you of sensitivity and gentleness and commitment and responsibility, and it doesn't go that it doesn't belong to me. My ability to feel the 10 this week was much more, qualitatively and quantitatively more significant than usual. And I heard it from the first head of the T, and I didn't believe it. He told us about it in the first 10 meeting, and I didn't believe it inside of me. And then I saw there's great depth in it and power. Yeah, in short, we started it after doing a workshop on excerpts from the book of Because to begin this exercise, to see our RA as a horse, because Rob gives us advice. He also gives us the freedom of choice to take this advice and realize it, or say maybe it's not important. So we had a strong lineup with accept about the topic of realizing words, implementing them, and in our 10 we didn't cancel the connection duty. The head works very tightly with connection duties. He checks, asks them, directs them, through them. They also help him. He helps them, but there's a lot more to scrutinize. We feel that we are only beginning. We feel that it creates great changes, especially for those who experience the exercise. And we have to thank the Creator that we've been rewarded with this. Hello worldly. We also want to share our impressions. And now here we from different TS, and we started this mutual action, and we can say that it's not a bad beginning. It gives us additional opportunities for connection between us. The head is capable of taking decisions and taking responsibility. On the other hand, he also annals before the 10, seemingly from above and from below. It collects everyone. It binds them. It's a unique experience. Yeah, so we've been at it for 2 weeks already. We change every 2 weeks. I had something special where we are continuing also with the connection, duty or shots by whatever you want to call it. So, when I was on that day, before the 5:00 Zoom, we have 4:40 minutes, then I had to prepare something, and I had nothing, no thought, nothing, and I was busy most of the day. So I called Amit, who was the head of the team. First we talked, and it was the first time that I really felt that I managed to organize with the head with the help of the head, a very special Zoom where the friends were inspired, and it was just great. I just turned to the upper one, and he helped me. I thank you. In every 10 there is a few people who are watching. Morning lesson, they have experience, and we are always asking some advice, and from the they or when they are saying something, it has much more bigger influence than other people. And what we said, it means that we are choosing RA in the 10, and I don't understand if we already have this some special people in the 10, why we need you make like this decision, like choose RA in the 10. I don't understand. They say it's not the correct translation. She can repeat. We thought that she meant if they're already collection duty. Maybe why do we need maybe we should she should repeat the question. Please repeat the question. In every group, there's someone who always watches the lesson, has a great experience, and there's a great weight to the what this friend says, and if there's a problem in that these such people give us the direction. We already have such people, why do we need to separate? Please choose ahead for the 10. It's like we're choosing another RAV in the group. The difference is that in the 10s the fact that we have friends who are more experienced and who are maybe more veteran, and this is great, and you can learn from them and take example from them. The head of the 10 doesn't replace any friend in the 10, and the head of the 10 is a role that I take upon myself for a week. It's a role that the 10 takes upon itself that it wants, and it brings each of us into a place where I am that responsible friend, that friend in charge. It's a role that requires of me. I like having to take advice from various friends. Like I just said, I have friends who are very experienced, so I listen to what they say. There are other friends, maybe with less experience. Tomorrow, you'll have to practice on listening to them. And likewise in each. That's the beauty of this role. It levels makes all of us, it makes all of us one equal, and forces us to build an equal relation to everyone in the 10. And not that there's someone who's greater or smaller. This is something that I can say I see it very evident from the 10. He never elevates himself above everyone, is always a friend like everyone else, on the same level as everyone else. He wants to take the decision with everyone. He doesn't force his opinion on anyone, and this is very, very crucial. It's critical, and that's what the head of the 10 gives. And another addition, the head of the 10 is not here to replace our Rav, our eternal Rav, our teacher. It's not related. The head of the 10 should not feel, the delusion of grandeur. Oh, that we should repeat now the words of Rav and here, because there are very clear definitions of this role. Thank you, friends and teachers. We are a very young 10, but we want to advance. We want to have a head in the 10, and I'm not before her, but we don't know how to choose her. We know it is something weekly. Is it choosing according to the alphabet, or can you give us some direction in terms of how to choose her? However you want. You can go alphabetically. You can just randomly of, I'm sure there's some order in the tenant for certain actions, like for example, who's reading, where we connect on the book, meeting to read, or in the Zoom to read. In an article probably have an order of reading, or an order of people who are on connection duties, and so choose accordingly. If you don't have a certain order, you decide maybe that you start, and then next one will be second, and the third will be third. Randomly. It doesn't have to be in special order. It's not like the most veteran or experienced. No, we shouldn't do it in this way. Whatever you decide on together, correctly how to decide together. We spoke about it in the last month and a half or two. We also talked about it a little bit. Oh, actually a lot. And many friends don't relate to it at all. Well, some of them don't relate to it at all. For the most part, we've been together for 8 years. So for the most part, that then comes to decisions. Like we do all the time. We talk and talk and talk until the white smoke comes out, and then it's a decision from the heart, and if someone pushes in some direction, in the end he announced before the general direction of the 10. There was also a complaint and argument that in all the writings of the Kabbalists there is no such thing as head. One of the friends said that the prophet Samuel and the prophets, suddenly the people of Israel wanted a king, and he said, why do the Gentiles have the king, the Jews have the prophets? Where did this come from? So several friends from the group also feel that it's an exercise We defined it as an exercise. Why specifically this exercise and not something else? There's a problem in our 10 with this whole topic. It feels like it's something that is being forced down our throat. It's not something that came out naturally. What else can I say about it? In the heart, it doesn't feel right. At least to me, this direction doesn't feel right. And I'm sure that many that there are other people who feel this way. So, we shouldn't just jump on the wave. Let's do it. And then we'll feel it again. We should go back. There's a drawing table and we should redraw it. And maybe also ask some other questions too. And then we'll get other answers. Thank you. First of all, we go back to the principle. A 10 that feels not ready, that is not, doesn't reach agreement, or not all the friends wish to participate in this exercise. You don't have to do it. You don't need to have head if our 10 reaches decisions. Unanimously, everything is good and perfect. There's no problem. Continue this. If we feel and need to have it, then we'll go in advance and and do it and realize this exercise of the head of the 10. Why did we choose it? First of all, the management chose this exercise. How come? Based on things they heard from Rav both in the recorded talks with Rav and also in other talks that maybe are not properly recorded, or you can't really share those excerpts, but you feel from Rav that a healthy 10, that's what he says, that's like the slogan of the exercise, a healthy 10 needs a head. And yes, we hear all the comments say the friends are the ones who are, leading Rav and twisting him and ask him certain questions and ask certain questions to get certain answers. You can take it in that direction and not do, or you can take it with everyone and go toward this exercise together with everyone. Try, I can say, and others will say that the experience only develops us and advances us. We're looking for ways to connect more, and out of the connection we pray for the reforming light to come and correct us and aim us and make us resemble him more. We started discussing it. We have one very serious discussion about it. We haven't actually started. And so now I have a question. I heard that the instruction is to allow every friend in the 10 unless he really doesn't want it. And to me, it doesn't really work out, because the power of the head comes from the scrutiny and the choosing of the tent. So if each friend does it by roster, then it may take away the strength from the head of the tent. So maybe we should think about it